Most people think GDP tells you how rich a country is. It doesn't. GDP, gross domestic product, is really just a scoreboard. It measures the total dollar value of all finished goods and services produced inside a country's borders in 1 year. That's it. No moral judgment, no quality assessment. Just what got made and how much was it worth? Think of it like adding up every receipt from every grocery store, restaurant, factory, and hospital in your entire country, then multiplying by 12 months. Here's where it gets tricky. GDP counts activity, not well-being. A car accident that sends 3 people to the hospital actually increases GDP. The ambulance ride, the surgery, the physical therapy, all of it gets counted as economic output. A forest that's been standing for 1,000 years has 0 GDP value until someone cuts it down and sells the lumber. Then suddenly it's worth money. Exhibit 1, GDP only counts market transactions. If you cook dinner for your family, that's 0 GDP. But if you buy a frozen meal from a company, that registers. Same outcome, fed family, but only one gets counted. Unpaid work, childcare, volunteering, elder care contributes nothing to the official scoreboard, even though it's essential to society. Exhibit 2, GDP ignores distribution. A country where one person earns $1 billion and everyone else earns nothing has higher GDP than a country where income is split evenly. The first country's scoreboard looks better on paper. The lived experience? Completely different. GDP tells you the size of the pie. It says nothing about who gets a slice. Exhibit 3, GDP counts destruction as creation. A hurricane wipes out a town. Homes collapse, infrastructure crumbles. But then the rebuilding happens, new construction, new materials, new labor. All that rebuilding activity gets added to GDP. The disaster itself erased wealth. The recovery created economic activity. The scoreboard goes up even though the country is actually worse off than before. So why does anyone use GDP at all? Because it's measurable. Economists can count transactions. They can track money flowing through banks, stores, and businesses. Well-being is harder to quantify. Happiness doesn't have a price tag. Environmental health takes decades to assess. GDP is imperfect, but it's concrete. It's why governments obsess over quarterly growth numbers. When a politician brags about GDP growth, they're saying the economy produced more stuff. That could mean more hospitals. It could mean more luxury goods for the wealthy. It could mean more fossil fuel extraction. The number itself is neutral. It's just measuring the volume of transactions, nothing more. Different countries calculate GDP slightly differently, but the core principle is the same. Add up what got produced. Convert it to one currency. That's your annual scorecard. The United States, China, Japan, Germany, they're all playing the same game, just with different starting positions and different populations to count. Here's what GDP doesn't tell you: whether people are happier, whether the environment is healthier, whether poverty is shrinking, or whether the economy is sustainable. A country could have booming GDP growth while its citizens get worse off. It happens. The scoreboard went up. The actual conditions went down. Some economists now argue for alternatives like GNH, gross national happiness, or measurements that factor in environmental damage. These try to capture what GDP misses, but they're harder to calculate, easier to dispute, and governments can't easily compare them across borders. So GDP remains the global standard, imperfect as it is. GDP is a tool, a useful one for tracking economic activity. But like any tool, it has limits. It measures what's easy to measure, ignores what's hard to quantify, and says nothing about fairness or sustainability. Understanding what it actually does and doesn't is the first step to reading economic news with a critical eye. The next time you hear someone cite GDP growth as proof an economy is thriving, ask yourself, thriving for whom? Growing in what direction? That single number hides far more than it reveals. And that's exactly why understanding how it's constructed matters. This video is for educational and informational purposes only and is not financial advice. Always do your own research. Subscribe so you don't miss the next explanation of how the systems shaping your world actually work. This video is for educational and informational purposes only and is not financial advice. Always do your own research.